You're listening to the RE Social Podcast with your hosts, Andrew and Vince from OnV Invest. For more information, go to onvinvest.com.
What's up, you guys? Welcome to episode X, because I don't know the number, but we have our... What?
We're on like episode 454 or something.
He's lying. He's on drugs.
Only good stuff.
Our producer says it's 9. So
Ninth episode.
But we have our dear friend and our realtor, Nasheen Noor. Nasheen, say hi.
Hi, everyone listening.
Listen
Hello.
to her. Do you see how like sweet and like innocent she sounds? That girl's a killer, dude. That's how she does it.
She sounds sweet, but she will steal your deal.
Between that and the most adorable dog of all time, I know her secrets now.
My Leo bear.
So we have Nasheen in the studio with us today. We want to mostly hit how she's doing her real estate business, and then also, get into some of the assets. But Nasheen, do you want to give us a little intro, background of yourself?
There we go.
Sure. Okay, so I've been in real estate for a half a decade at this point. I'm a second generation realtor. My family's been in the business for over 3 decades, all in New York. They have a high producing team. My sister's a realtor, my cousins, pretty much everyone in my family is just in real estate, and they have invested too. So that's kind of how I grew up. And so as an adult, I thought, okay, it wasn't really an option for me. It wasn't like I had a choice. I had to be a realtor, but I'm out here in California. So I had to just really start from zero and just build this whole business all on my own. What else do you want to know?
You did do some other work before real estate, right?
I did. The wishes of my family, perhaps, right? I work for a marketing media company. I am a professional graphic designer plus 3D graphics designer. I know how to make all kinds of 3D models. That's what I did in my previous career, which was years ago.
And then what made you jump from that to real estate?
I just didn't like sitting at a desk all day.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I had a lot more to offer the world in terms of trying to help people. And I have at that time, I had a pretty basic knowledge about real estate from growing up in the business, And so I thought, I really need to. And my family was always pushing me. They're like, why are you at this job? Like, why? So anyways, I got all that going in terms of, getting licensed, of course, and just starting out. And then I had, partnered up with a very experienced agent. And I just, right off the bat, I just worked like pretty much 7 days a week. That's all I did. And I started to have listings. I started to have like buyers, people listing their homes with me. This is like pretty much like in the first few months. But it took a lot of work. I had to literally like every single day. I was very serious. Every weekend I was doing like 4 open houses at least, and I was doing it all on my own. And so, my, team member, he was my mentor, but he wasn't attending them, It was just me doing all that legwork, and that's kind of how I started everything. So it was just that 100% dedication from my end that really helped boost things up, which I think is really important.
How many hours a day were you putting in, like right away in the beginning?
Oh, right away, like 10 hours.
Oh, you were all in.
Oh, 100%.
And how long did you get your first listing or your first deal?
Excuse me. Well, I worked really hard, and I got my first listing within like a month and a half.
That's pretty good.
And it was like
that's
800K
really
or something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
How'd you get the listing? Was it like just cold calling? Was it a friend?
I'm a total nerd, so this is so funny. I actually was taking this math class twice a week just to like refresh. I know it sounds funny. Like I was kind of embarrassed to tell people in my office. So like my partner would be like, so where do you go every evening? I'm like, I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so it was my professor who referred me to his fiance who wanted to sell her home. And it was a property at the time, it had been on the market, didn't sell. And then I ended up listing the property and I got it sold like in 10 days or so. And it was literally during Christmas time too, where Christmas Eve, I went and I showed it myself with the buyer's agent and the buyers. And I remember the agent told me, she's like, none of the agents return any of my calls. Like, they have these properties on the market. They don't even call me back. You're like one of the few. I'm like, well, I told the client, my sellers, that I would work as hard as possible. And Christmas Eve, I went out there. Then Christmas morning, I was reviewing the offers. And just, like for me, I don't care if it's the holidays. I will still work because most of the agents are checked out by the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
By the end of
Especially
the
on
third
Christmas
quarter,
time.
Oh yeah, no one's answering.
Everyone's checked
calls.
out around Christmas time. But
They're
you
out
were
of
showing
town.
up. You were doing
yeah.
a showing on Christmas Eve.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not to cut you off, but sidebar, just for the audience, Vince, I've noticed that like the past few guests we've had, all of them are complete bosses and like top of their game, and they all say similar things that she's saying. Just like going above and beyond, and like not being above working your butt off right away, being humble and just putting in the hours and learning the game, but also like showing up on Christmas Eve.
Oh yeah.
That's like what it takes, We were talking to Tom, to Ryan. It's like it's interesting,
It's very interesting, right? So it's two things I've noticed for these particular type of line of work, right? So for example, Nasheen, Tom, all the high performers. So in this line of work, you have to perform or you make nothing. It's not like you're not getting a 50,000 like base salary, like you can just coast, like you're homeless, right? If you don't do it.
Absolutely.
So people are really passionate, but the opposite side of it is that you can scale a lot. So for example, if I have a W-2 job, I make decent money, right? 6 figures.
Yeah.
But let's say if I perform twice as much, I can't get $250,000. That's not a thing, right?
Nope.
But you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the big benefit.
It's a double-edged sword as an entrepreneur for years.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten lucky. Most businesses don't last a couple years, straight up. And that's what being a realtor is
I think 70% of small businesses in the U.S. fail within the first 3 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That is crazy.
And people don't, I feel that, a lot of people want to get into real estate. I get asked this question like all the time, like, hey, I want to get my license. How are you doing all of this? And one of the things that you really have to have is like that drive, like you have to, that it has to be like your only thing, because I don't share all the crazy things that happen in my day. I really don't. I post a lot of the really great stuff.
Yeah, they see all like the fabulousness and the big home. They don't know like what's happening behind the scenes, all this grinding and calling. And I mean, I've called clients at 7 a.m., at 8:30 p.m., listing agents. Like, it's a 24-hour gig, Even the client, like, Jeff.
Well,
shout out to Jeff if you're listening, 7:30 wakes up, super excited, calls, hey, I want to go check out this place 2 hours away. I'm just like, okay, I told Nasheen, this is what I signed up for.
One thing about Jeff, he has good drive. So if he keeps it up, the chances he will make it in, I don't know, X amount of months, years, days, he will make it if he keeps doing it.
His biggest strength is he has the entrepreneur mindset. And that's what I tell people when they say they want to invest in real estate, because they see what we're doing and they're like, dude, that's amazing. And I think similar with you, they just like, oh, well, anyone can be a real estate agent, like it's easy.
They think it's
they don't
just a
see
license.
all the grinding, and with us they don't see all like the phone calls we have and like dealing with tenants not paying, and not even gonna go into all the messy details. But I always ask them the first thing I ask them is like, so are you looking to start a new business right now?
Yeah.
And most of them are like, what? They don't understand what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Like, yeah, well, that's what it is.
It really is. It's just, and people don't understand that. I think what people's perception is, because, this whole real estate business, it has been extremely glorified on TV. You have these shows, and people tell me all the time, like, wow, you're doing all these things, like you're just like that person in the show. And they're not showing you a lot of the stuff, and it is probably like written out, so that people's perception is very different, because for me it's just like my own business. I have to do my own marketing. I have to be my own boss, and I have to ask myself, am I performing, or would I fire myself? Like, am I happy with my performance? So I have a real estate coach to keep me on check. I have amazing mentors, and now I've been since last year, heavily involved with our Keller Williams Legacy brokerage. I'm on the regional leadership council, so I get to meet all the really, really amazing top realtors.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so it really helps me focus, and through that, I also get to give back to the community too.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, all that fun stuff.
You're a top dog. Yeah, and for just a quick backstory for anyone who doesn't know, Vince and I have been investing in real estate for a few years now, successfully. Working with partners and making everyone money. Ourselves and the partners included, my mom included, which is cool.
That's awesome.
And then the pandemic hit, and I decided to get my license because my business was just kind of slow, and I was like, well, there's no downside to me getting a license. And then halfway through, the second chapter that they make you take, and they talk a lot about, this is a business, this is how you market, this is this. And I was like, oh, that's when I was like, okay, that's exciting to me. And so basically whenever I got it all done, I was real excited to actually do the retail side as well as do the stuff for us. So what's great is I get to get a little chunk of the commission. I get to learn. I'm deep in it now. So
then I get to steal his commission.
Yeah, right. Vince steals the commission. Anything I have left over goes into the deal. Be it a repair on a garage or a shed, or now for this one, setting up an Airbnb, putting it all together. It's so awesome. It's win-win-win. It's going right back into our pockets officially.
And hopefully some dinner dates for all
little
of us.
Little dinner dates once in a while.
You can use the property.
Yeah,
you guys have access. I'm gonna the keys.
Rent out that ADU in the back.
A lot of people don't know is Drew and Nasheen are a team, and they split everything, right, 50-50.
Yeah.
And Drew and I are a team, and we split everything 50-50. In a way, Drew owns 100%.
I'm the real winner here.
Yeah, he's the real winner.
I'm the smartest guy in the room. You guys just don't know it. I'm just kidding.
Awesome.
So
I just know the value. I just know my limitations, and I know the value of team and having people who are stronger than you at certain things. And Nasheen's obviously a complete boss and knows. Even just this morning, you were like talking about property taxes, and I'm like, oh, slow down one more time. Like I don't even know how it works. I really don't. And it's same thing with Vince. He'll say something like, okay, hold on. Give me an example. Can I buy a vowel? So I'm always learning and soaking things up. And now that my business is mostly passive, I'm able to really immerse myself and commit myself to just learning as much as I can and hustling and helping create more and more.
And he's a rock star.
Yeah.
He's doing so much.
Yeah,
he's trying to, manage his business, which is, he's trying to get hands off.
I stay busy
as much as possible and just be 100% in real estate. And that's what I tell him. These are the conversations we have, that, hey, this is 7 days a week. You're not going to see your friends,
Yeah.
That was my sister all those years ago. My sister, I had called her on a Saturday night because I couldn't go out, I wanted to go drink with my friends. Sure. People were inviting me out, like, hey, there's this dinner, or we're going to go watch a movie, all this fun stuff. And I'm like, well, I have to wake up really early. I have to go put out open house signs, probably like walk around in the heat and do all these things. So I can't come out. So I call my sister, and she's in New York. She's been in real estate like since she was 23, and she's 33 or 34.
She's single, right?
Possibly.
He's half joking.
I don't know if she is today. No, I'm kidding.
I'm always only half joking.
And so she said, hey, Nasheen, did you say bye-bye weekend? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, yeah, you're never going to have weekends again. And then weekdays, you're slaying deals, you're getting things going. So, and I'm like, haha, she's joking. But no, it's absolutely true, And I also see a lot of, we have about like 10 agents that sign up, and it's great, and they want to really be in the real estate business, but I think...
Are you saying 10 agents like a week?
Like per month. We have an average of like 8 or 10 that
with
join
Keller
our...
Williams?
Our brokerage, typically.
How many of them out of the 10 do you think like really stay on and do a great job?
A lot of times they're doing some deals, but sometimes they'll just do a few and fall off. But the main thing, because I talk to some of them, if they come into the office and, I get to speak to them or at the team meetings and stuff, and if they attend, and I chat with them, and a lot of times they tell me, yeah, they have a full-time job, they have, young children, and it's very challenging because it takes up a lot of your time, so you can't really focus on it.
This might be a soundbite. Maybe Nasheen can answer. What do you think separates like regular realtors who try to make it and the realtors who actually make it in your business?
Yeah, it's for me, it's you just have to work all the time. Be ready to look. I carry my laptop with me every single place I
go. Mastro's the other night.
Oh, I
brought my laptop in case we have to write a deal. I'm like, you are.
I'm not kidding,
gangster.
and I make sure it's all charged up, ready to go. I have my laptop with me at all times. I mean, if God forbid I don't, I will have anxiety, or if it was dead and I was somewhere, I'm like, I need to go back to the office or go to my house, charge this thing up, and then I can come back out. I will write an offer for a client if it's even 10 p.m. at night and offers are due early morning. Say the client's like, hey, you know what? We saw it in the morning, but we needed to discuss it, and here's where we're at. And say, maybe I'm out for dinner with my husband or something, or with family. Typically those are the only people I really get to spend time with, and or friends. I'm not going to tell my client, hey, I'm going to be home in a couple of hours and then I will get this going, then you're going to sign it. They're not going to stay up till late at night to sign all this stuff. They want, this is how the market is. And
especially right now, the market's moving so fast.
And the other agents, they're tied up and busy. They're like, maybe somebody else would say, hey, I can do it for you tomorrow, and then maybe not wake up in time to get it done or be as aggressive. I think that's really the word. And by then they lost the deal. The other thing is lenders, who you work with, of course we have our in-house escrow, which is just amazing, and we have our in-house transaction coordinator, Jessica, and then we have amazing lenders that we work with. One of them's been Ryan Kress, yes, and he was on the show recently. So sometimes it's like, hey, I need a desktop underwriting right now. I need to submit this. Maybe they just saw one property and the buyer is ready to go, and we need to put the whole offer package together. But I can't do my job without them doing their job too and performing on time.
It's all about the team.
Yep. So it is really teamwork.
Yeah, it is all about the team. I want to get into one of the deals we did together. We can talk about either the house that just closed or the turquoise one. But before that, when Drew first got his license, I wanted Drew to take on the load of being the realtor in the business, and then get the deals, and I can manage it, right? But it's not a very forward-thinking goal that I had, because I am very protective of Onvi, and I don't like to have more people involved. I'm very no, it's just me and Drew. Everybody else can screw themselves, But then I started hanging out with you, and then I'm like, she does bring a different perspective into the deal because she's been doing it for a while. Yeah. And then Drew and I talked about it too. So and then we got you on. So now you guys split it. So that's really the way to go. It doesn't make sense to.
It's well worth it for the skills she brings. Yeah. Even the conversations we have, I'm taking notes. Yeah. There's so much to. I'll tell everybody listening this. If you're thinking about getting a real estate license, and you're not willing to fully commit and sacrifice those weekends. Yeah. It's such a steep learning curve. Once you get thrown into the wild, there's so much to learn. And so that's why I try to attend all the classes. I try to go to all the Zooms and the meetings, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can. And there's no way that I'd be able to pull it off by myself. Zero chance. I'm a pretty smart guy, self-starter, and I do a lot of reading, and I watch YouTube videos at the gym, and I'm looking at, how does this, if transactions, seller financing. I'm always doing more and more research to just kind of catch up with this brainchild here. And there's just no way that we'd be getting the deals. And right now we're in escrow on another duplex, which is an investment property for us.
And so we beat out 22 offers.
I mean, it's insane. Just so you guys know, with the market right now, It is, every house is an auction. There's no selling a house. It's an auction.
Yep.
When they list it at $500K, that's the starting bid. If you offer $500K, they're going to laugh at you. You need to go higher, and you need to go fast, and you need to be aggressive.
Yep.
All the terms, and I'm just really learning how all that works, and I'm excited to learn how it works when hopefully the market softens. So I get to see both sides. I'm hoping we can grab a listing. I'm super excited to learn all this, but I want to tell everybody in the audience, if you want to do this job, if you want to be a realtor, really think about it. Are you a self-starter? Are you willing to put in the work? Are you able to network? Are you able to really put in the time to learn everything? And then if you are, great, you can still pull it off. Now, are you able to find a rock star like team member there? Because that's really where it's at.
Yeah.
You know? There's just no way my learning is doing this right now. There's no way I'd be doing that if you weren't a part of the team. It'd be like nice, slow.
Yeah.
You
No, what would happen is you're in a transaction and then you're like, wait a minute, it's
Something would
falling
happen.
through.
I panic and I
Like
call
say
Diana.
say the property tax thing we talked about literally for 2 hours. Like it took me years, like a long time, just to learn how that worked. On newer properties, like people won't really know that, because people are looking at Zillow and Redfin. Oh, I mean, $1 million property, they're showing you like, your average rough cost is like $3,800. That's not really the truth, because it's not really calculating everything like it should. Maybe it's a newer build, and so you have to, and a big part of all of this is to really educate the buyers, because a lot of them are first time, and realtors are not doing that. They will not take the time out in the evenings. Like me, every single evening I am talking to my clients because they work in the day, so even second time buyers, I will take an hour or 2 hours and really sit down. I mean, typically it's on the phone because of all this COVID stuff, and they're more comfortable, maybe on a phone call. And I just explain every single step. I hold their hand through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Maybe they bought a house 23 years ago and I sold it. And then they're like, wait a minute, what is all of this,
It's interesting because the deeper I get into this game, the more I realize that adage of we're really information brokers.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
like
We're
having to
educators
educate these
advisors.
These guys are like, hey, I just want to buy $1 million house. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, well, let's
You
baby
make
step this.
$10,000 a year. You cannot buy that. Yeah.
Yeah,
We have $1 million
and there's
cash.
just so much more to it, and creating realistic expectations based on, kind of what they're looking for. We have to kind of work and meet them in the middle, educate them like we have to do tomorrow, hopefully, with
It's
a new client.
another way to look at it is really short-term thinking and long-term thinking, right? So short-term thinking would be, hey, Drew, let's just do this deal by ourselves and we can keep whatever it is, right? But really, it's really stupid to do that. The better way to be is just split the commission, whatever it is, and then just become make a better, bigger team, right?
Yep, be more
Because you
efficient.
bring all the skills. But let's get into a deal. Let's talk about the turquoise deal.
the cool duplex.
The
in
cool
Midtown.
duplex, right? So I'll talk about, what I do and then, what you guys do. So for listeners who haven't, you don't know the background, so Drew has a business, in case this is the first episode to listen, and then he's been working hard to make his in-home services, to having a brick and mortar, and then now having an established business for teaching music for a lot of clients, right? So he's been pretty busy, so he hasn't had the opportunity to do a lot of stuff for Onvi, so I do a lot of the heavy lifting, right?
Yep.
So I am very familiar with the negotiating with the listing agents. I am so crazy that I will call the listing agent and ask them what they want to sell the house at, and I'll just make that offer. So there will be no competition. There is no bidding. I'll just be like, hey, what do you want for the house? And I'll just write it up right now. And then I'll call Nasheen and be like, write this offer right now and we'll get the deal. And that's how we got the deal with Turquoise, right? I said, just this offer exactly, and then we'll get the deal. And then we got the deal. So let's break it down, right? So Nasheen, you want to talk about it?
So Turquoise, that was cool. We, offered pretty high.
What does she want? I think it was on the market for $420 or something. And then I called her and said, I know you have other offers. What do we want? And then ended up at $475.
Yes.
And then she obviously picked us because we developed a good relationship with her over the phone.
But we were pretty high up there,
We were the best offer because I told her, like, I'll
Yep.
pay you for it, right?
Yeah.
Because it was a great neighborhood, like really nice. I would live there.
Yeah, it's a really nice neighborhood, actually.
Yeah.
Right
And
at the
huge
foothill of
lot.
the mountains. Yeah.
What is it like? almost half an acre or something.
Almost,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's a really big lot, right?
Good size.
So we did the we got the offer accepted, and then we went into escrow, and then we did the appraisal, and it came in at 440, right? 442, and then we had it tied up 475, right? So everybody's freaking out. So I said, I'm gonna call her. So I called her and I said, hey, call me back. She didn't pick up. So she called me back. I said, listen, I know this is what the appraisal came back at. I don't like to negotiate. You tell me what you want us to pay, what is fair, and then we'll pay for it. Like, there's no problem. And she said, you want to split in the middle? I said, yeah, there's no negotiation. It's already done, right? So the offer is split. And then we convinced her to do over like $5,000 to $10,000 worth of repair.
Yep.
Yeah, she
Crazy.
did.
She was really nice, Darlene.
Yeah, she was great. I think it was that deal. We were able to get that in this insane market because of one part, just relationship and just being honest. Like, here's what we're doing. Here's what we want.
Yeah.
What do you want? Figuring out what they want, and then that's really brilliant to say, what do you want? I'll give it to you. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's not even
so
a
simple.
scam too. It's like,
No, it's
I'm
just like,
honestly asking you, like, what do you think? If she said no, bro, you have to come in very close to the appraisal, I would have paid it. I would have been like, okay, that's fine, but I'll get the deal.
Figured it out.
Yeah.
It's one part that. It's one part also being quick. I think that was like the first or second day that we had that conversation with her.
Yeah.
That was
we
on
were
the
very
market.
quick.
Yes.
And then she was working with us, and then the next hiccup came. We bought this deal with K1, right? So this is why partnering with people. I'm just gonna say partner with people like us, right? So we're buying this house. It's about $500,000 worth. And then, we have enough money to close the deal. Let's say we have 50 grand or such, right? So let's say you're buying this by yourself. And then at the last minute, the lender says, you know what? Your Tesla payment is too high. You need to pay it off or we won't close the deal.
Yeah.
So we're about to lose the deal. So now if you're doing by yourself, you might not have the means to make this happen, right? But we do. I could just make a phone call and just make your Tesla payment disappear because I could do that, right?
Yep.
And then I have enough trust with the person we work with because I only work with people I like. I wouldn't work with you if I don't like you, right? So K1's a homie. There's no contract between us and K1 saying that, hey, man, you got to pay me $35,000. And like, I don't care. I'm like, it's fine. Just give it to me when you can, right?
Yeah.
And he just sends me the money whenever he can, right? He did like most of it already, right? But we have the means to close the deal, right? So that's why it's very important. So that's why we say always partner with people.
Yep, absolutely. Partnering with people, but also being ready for like the shit to hit the fan. Because I don't think there's been one smooth deal ever. Even Olympic, which we're going to transition to.
They all are very
so,
unique.
So the big hiccup on the one in turquoise was the car. Which I'm kind of curious, how did the lender not catch that beforehand? That was like a last minute. Oh, by the way, he doesn't qualify. Like, how did that skate by
I think
them?
she messed the back end ratios for the DTI, and I think she didn't calculate that. So once it goes over 45 or 50, they don't like it at all. So
45 is probably max.
Yeah, so that's why that happened. It just went over. So the easiest thing to solve this problem was to just remember, guys, if you throw enough money at it, you will solve any problem in the world.
It's always the
so
solution.
this problem was $35,000, and we solved it by paying $35,000 for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then with the FHA and all that, they're real hardcore about stuff. So we basically had to like figure out how to take care of chipping paint. We had to do all these crazy repairs to just get it done. And I remember, I think it was like on a Monday, I called like 20 different contractors to try to get like something with a shed in the garage or something that needed to be repaired. And there's all these other things. Thank God Jeff, my stepdad, is like able to, drop things and go up there and work on stuff with us. So we got what we could. We got that done, but there were some major repairs, and I was like, "There's just no way."
They were not really major repairs. They were not even the house. It was the shed, right?
It was the shed, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was the whole side of it.
Yeah.
It was just dilapidated. They had termites, all kinds of damage. But yeah, point is, solving problems in crisis mode.
That's what we
slamming
do.
a coffee, and that's really what makes it work.
Every day, we are problem solvers.
And what was
That's
great
we
about
do.
it is I got it done. I got a good relationship with the guy, so if anything needs to be done, it's like I just call this guy. But also, I was able to pay for it out of my commission. So it was like it's just win, 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 and that's what I'm trying to create is just these win, win. Everybody's winning. Kayvon's winning, Vince is winning, I'm winning, you're winning. We all get a little piece of this pie, even the contractor.
Yeah.
And that's why there's so many tax advantages for investors and people just taking that risk because you're creating jobs, you're creating economic growth.
So that was our first deal with Nasheen, and that was November, was it, or December?
We closed that one
I think-
December 3rd.
Something like
Was
that,
it?
November,
Yes.
December, and then I was gone on vacation in Georgia. Came back, decided, you know what, I bought enough houses. This is one thing I talked to my close friends, and I decided I've done enough with Anvi. I need to buy a house for myself, right? So I
Yep.
decided we went on that hunt, and then that was another crazy story. Do you want to break that down?
Yeah, so we ended up giving Vince. Where were you? What state? You were with your family in Georgia, right?
Yeah, I was in Georgia.
So he's in Georgia. Andrew and we go. I mean, it's like pouring rain. The Supra is like in a puddle.
Yeah.
I had my little pupper with me.
Yeah.
Leah.
Oh, that was the Fountain Valley deal.
Yeah.
So anyway, let me break it down real fast. I know
Yeah.
Nasheen will go into like the J.R.R. Tolkien. She'll examine the ambiance first, and she'll
Yeah.
give you like the leaves and the autumn. But I'll give you the facts. That's the difference, right, guys? We just want facts. Give us the facts. So anyway, so what she's trying to say is usually you gotta give. You were telling me this yesterday. Actually, you tell me this. Tell the audience this about how you want to give the buyers a taste of what is there, and then they get really into it, and then that's when you actually get the real deal. It's not the
Yep.
first showing.
Yep. So that was the one property, and then we submitted an offer for that. We went up pretty high. I believe it was just a townhouse at 700. I
It was
forget
some garbage townhouse
like
in Fountain Valley.
700K or something like that. So we offered, we made a very good offer. I don't know, like 50, 60 grand's over. Then there were so many offers, and we were at the top two. And I think what happened is we got beat out by like a cash offer, even though we were a little bit higher. I think that's what happened.
Mhm. Thank God
And-
we didn't get that one.
Yeah. So then what happened is, so this is like the first time for Vince, like for himself to live in this home. And then I had a heart-to-heart with him on the phone, remember? And I said, look, this is pretty much like with the HOA, it's really like buying $1 million home. And I said, look, I think one route you can take, is I can look for a property. I obviously he doesn't need to do what I tell him, but a property which has like no HOA, of course, like it's going to be an older home from the 50s because that's all we have over here. And I felt that it was very important for him to be right here and not move 20 minutes away because of all of our businesses and deals and everything. And of course,
Mostly
his work.
to pull honeys.
That's what I really told him to do. But
Selling point. You got to know your audience.
Yeah, we are really dumb guys.
I literally. So, anyways, I found this property. It had fallen out of escrow, and I had wanted this property for myself. But the reason I thought I saw great value in this property was because it had an ADU. So Vince, he's a single man. You're not married, as far as I know, right?
Mhm.
So
Have 3 wives in Pakistan. Yeah. It's illegal there.
you can have one more. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. So anyways, for him to rent out that ADU would bring him maybe $2,000 a month, So if he's got a mortgage for like about $5,000-$6,000, it kind of works out. Like that was what I felt, And so, and then the cool thing about the property is that it had an 8,400 square foot lot. Now, California just passed the new rule where you can actually build up to 2 units, maybe 4, but that depends. Anyways, long story. But they're allowing people to build if they have the space. So what I thought for him is that, hey, perhaps, you get this property, rent out the ADU, get your $2,000 a month, and then you cover the mortgage, or, you've got your roommate and
Yeah,
stuff.
roommates, yeah.
Yep. Sweet old Ryan.
Yeah.
And so it kind of works because then you're not out of pocket so much. And then when you have a little more cash, like say in another year or 6 months, then you can build another little ADU in the back and then cash flow from there. Now, I know ADUs cost a whole lot and all the things, but there are, and I do a lot of research on this, there are prefab tiny homes like ADUs that you can just have, like it's already made, and then you place it, of course, with permits, and you have to hook utilities up and all of that. But it wouldn't cost you like an arm and a leg. So I thought like, hey, maybe in 2 years he's literally living like for free. And so showed him the house. We got in and they were already like in counter offers. There were like what, 7-8 other offers or something at the time. And we just went in and offered 25% over asking.
Yeah, let me break that down, right? So what happened was we toured the property really quick, and the offers were due that day, right? So, Nasheen and Drew are realtors. They always like, bro, you cannot call the realtor listing agent. I'm like, screw you guys. I've been doing this for years. I'm going to call the listing agent. So I toured the property, and then I
we went to see it.
I talked to Nasheen, and then we liked it. It has some foundation issues, right? So then I go home and I called the listing agent. I said, hey, man, what's going on? I just toured the property. I really like it. What do you got going on? He said, I have offers up to $1.15 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, ooh, okay. So I said, how about I throw another 100 on top of that? Can you wait another hour? He's like, that's insane. I'm like, sure.
They're
I'll wait.
encounters.
Yeah, they're encounters. They're like counting back and forth. So I want to make an offer so big. You were kind of like, it should be illegal for you not to show that to the to the seller, because if I make an offer, you have to show it to the seller, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
So I'm making an offer so ballsy, like you have to show it to the seller. So we write the offer up, $250,000 over asking, and we show it to the seller.
$1 million.
On $1 million house, right?
That's
Obviously,
bananas.
they call us back the same day, like, yeah, you got the house, like it's good,
Yeah.
right? So the reason we do this is to get it into contract and see what happens after that, right? So then what we do after that is we do the appraisal, we do the inspection, we collect all the evidence for the house, right? And then we see what it is. So, going through all these negotiations, we actually ended up negotiating at $40,000 below appraised value, right? So we dropped about $175,000 from what the original offer was, right? And then we bought it for less than what it's actually worth, right? So if I can get all the work done for $40,000, that's a really good buy. Like,
oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
that was my primary residence. I'm going to live in it. So then the way I do business is, I like to give value to a lot of people, right? One of them is Drew. He's been my partner for a long time. So at this point, I just bought the house. I didn't ask Drew for anything, right? But Drew comes in, he steps up and he says, hey, you know what? I'll just manage the Airbnb for you for free.
Yep.
Like he's not
the
gonna,
ADU.
the ADU, right? So this is what happens if you invest in someone for a long time. At some point, they're going to be like, I gotta do something. But if he doesn't do the Airbnb, I'm not going to be like, I hate your face, bro. You should have done this Airbnb. I don't care. I'll just rent it out and I'll just do my next thing, right? So it's still fine. So then he's going to help me with the Airbnb. It's going to bring a couple of grand. I'm going to have a couple of roommates. That brings a couple more grand. So I'm only in this house. It's $1 million+ house, and I'm only spending about the same I'm spending for rent, right? Yeah, you would need the 120 that you have to put down, but it doesn't have to be from my pocket, right? It could be family money, it could be trust money, it could be my 401k money. There's different ways to do it. So that's really how I got into this house. It's a really fun story, and we'll probably put up a video on Instagram when it's done. It's a really cool spot.
It's an amazing house. Congratulations. We just closed yesterday. I'm so proud of
It
you.
is a great looking house, man.
Thanks, guys. You can't do it without like the right team. You need like someone to go bat for you and get.
Yeah, he sends me
punches.
out to go take all the bullets.
Yeah, I give you all
Yeah.
the details, and you guys go figure it out. Use
And
your
the
realtor talk.
negotiations once we came down, I'm sure that the
how
listing
much-
agent was real excited with Nasheen.
Oh,
Yeah.
and it was a Friday at 5 p.m.
Tell
oh,
me,
man.
can you just kind of talk about it a little bit?
Oh,
This
man,
is kind of
is
fun for
this
the audience.
Okay. So Vince is like, hey, look, there's just a lot of issues with the house. Like we got quotes for, I don't know, like
180 grand. I think.
$187,000.
So a backstory, guys, real quick. The house does have some little foundation issues.
Yeah.
And so, we were able to use that. as
Yeah,
leverage.
and this is common. Every house will have foundation issues.
Mhm.
Either like if you have a house on a concrete slab, or you have one that's a raised foundation. I mean, I don't typically sell homes from this time period, like the 50s, without some of the issues. And sometimes over the years, like the sellers resolve it, but typically no, right? So there's always something. Like none of this stuff scares me. It really doesn't. I'm like, hey, I've never had like a buyer or a seller, a buyer call me and say, hey, look, the house broke apart and I'm extremely upset with you. I've never had that, not yet. So what happened is then we calculated that, hey, so it was like, okay, this is how much all the repairs are going to cost. And it was massive, and for him to purchase this home, I mean, it was a little bit nerve-wracking, but we held his hand through the whole thing.
and we got your props to Ryan for he was able to really, move fast and aggressive with us at the same time. So the whole team was able to move aggressively. And I think that
like
needs to
right
be
away.
said.
Like,
if you don't have the team, you ain't doing.
We're all young, aggressive, hungry, intelligent. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's the winning strategy.
It is.
And plus, we have a crazy person who knows way too much.
And then he tells, so then Vince is like, okay, hey Nasheen, at this point, if I purchase this property for $1.25 million and then I have to spend $187,000, like, it didn't make sense, like, I mean, he's just in the hole, like, what, $500,000, and so, or whatever the math is. And so, so then it went, we had to go back to the negotiating table, like, hey, this is the situation. The seller is obviously aware of at least some of it, but maybe not like the true cost. And so, I had to go and ask for a huge price reduction because it was the only way it would make sense, because my job is to do what's in your best interest, right? That's our job. Like Andrew and I, we have to make sure that you're going to be okay. You're not going to call us like 6 months later, hey, Nasheen, Andrew, like the house like sunk in to the ground and now I woke up in the basement.
The key thing, I want listeners to, because I want this to be very educational, right? So the key thing I want people to understand is I am very, very confident of my numbers, right? I'm not like, you can't just call me and be like, hey man, you should pay like 1.44. I can do my own comps. I have access to title. I can pull comps on it. I know what it's worth. I know the per square feet, the bedrooms, the ADU, everything, right? So I can make the numbers in my head, and I know for a fact this thing is not appraising at 1.25. So that's the big bargaining chip that Ryan and I talked about, right? So I was like, I did my math. I think I said it's going to appraise for like 107. Everybody had our own thing, right? But then, so we had the 113. So 125 is already out the door. Nobody's paying that because it's only appraising for 113, right? And then it has a big foundation problem. So I'm saying, listen, 113, and then it's going to cost me $130,000 to fix it.
And you were banking on just the appraisal being like the gap to negotiate. But the foundation was a coincidence, or did you know?
We knew about the foundation,
I knew.
How'd you guys know about
I
the
actually,
foundation?
You can tell.
Because you walked it and then made the offer. I remember that, the lumpy floors.
I think you were out of town that day, but like Vince and I just went and quickly looked at it, and I remember tripping, like I was like, whoa, and I'm like, there's something going on beneath this
you tripped on just the thing. That was not a foundation thing. She's just tripping for fun.
No, basically there was a lot of unevenness around.
that was uneven. So we didn't know about the foundation.
But
the
I
thing
suspected right away,
we don't just go ask. This is what I want the people to know. We just don't call the listing agent and be like, hey man, give us $200,000 off. That's just stupid. It's got to be very educational, right? So we educated, right? So
coming
we're like,
from some a real place.
113 is what it's worth, guys. Like that's what it's worth. And then there's another $130,000 at least I need to put in to fix this. This property is really only worth $1 million, right? Of course they're gonna freak out now. They're like, dude, this is
they hated me.
But then I said, listen, you already gone out of escrow once. You're going to go back to your seller again and say you can't perform. He's not going to do that. He's a big dog, right? So, and then and we were making like really realistic stuff, right? And then we tried to get our 105, and then we settled on 1075, which was about $40,000 less than the appraised value.
Yeah, we negotiated for like about.
I think it was a fair price, all things considered.
I actually agree. Yeah, with the bids that we got for the repairs and stuff.
Yeah, if I want to do it right,
$1,075,000.
It's like it's definitely livable. It's fine, but it is an issue that you eventually may have to do.
You need to address it. Yeah,
well,
and you are.
The interiors will be done like in 2 days, guys. Like it'll be moving ready in
the
a
floors,
week for sure. The outsides, I gotta test the soil and find it out. But anyway, this is the more information that people need. But let's talk about the next one. So that was the second year we did with Nasheen in 2 months, and the third month we are tied up another contract with our homie Stevie. Stevie's gonna be on the podcast.
Out to you, bro.
Yeah, he's super good.
So Steven partnered with us. before on
Iris.
my favorite property, Iris.
Yeah.
Aw.
But now this is going to be your best favorite property because the
this one.
2021 build. How did we get that?
Gorgeous.
As new as it gets.
Because I am scouting the internet 24/7. If you think Nasheen's crazy, I am 10,000 times worse than Nasheen. Just literally on the internet 24 hours, not watching porn, watching redfin.com, just on
It's a
Zillow,
real
right?
thing. Every time I come over, he's got like a YouTube video of some real estate pro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Grant Cardone here, stack of real estate books.
Yeah. all
He's
the
got
time.
the title like searching. He's like,
yeah, yeah. Doing all this stuff. We already
you
know
need
who
like
the
10
seller-
monitors. You
Yeah.
need 10
Like
monitors.
that's how I am with my at home. I'm either, for fun, I just watch anything real estate related. I don't that's my only
Yeah.
hobby. That's all I watch.
So let's go back to this deal, right? So I found
Yeah.
this deal, and then because now I have access. But usually I would call the listing agent, right? But it's always better if anybody's listening. It's always better if you have a realtor to call them because the listing agent will prefer to talk to the
Yeah.
realtor because they would
Yeah.
think mostly you're a dumbass. Since I know what I'm talking about, they usually talk to me and I can negotiate with them. But it
Mhm.
is better if I make Drew or a Nasheen call. So anyway,
Yeah.
I find all the details. I push it over to Nasheen. Nasheen calls the guy. I think it was listed at 660. We went back and forth. And no, 600. And then we
600.
went back and forth. We offered 630. And then it went to final and best. We offered 665.
Then
We ended on 665. It was between you and some other one. Us and
top
somebody
two,
else.
and they
We're
had
always in the top
many,
two.
many
Always top two.
offers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I made Nasheen call the guy every hour just to piss him off. And then he gave us the deal. That's what happened, literally, right?
Hey man. Hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, what do you think? What do you want? What do you want? We'll meet you outside.
I
Like,
would just call them.
yeah.
Just take
Whatever
the
you
deal.
want.
Go away.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that because like I said, real estate is all I do. I don't have anything else that I do as a profession or anything. So I'm able to contact people all the time and keep in touch, and they see that, they're like, hey, because right now it's like all the listings are like with experienced agents. It's not like some, so these people have been in the business, and so they know like, hey, if the realtor is reaching out, they're doing all the things, they're, then they want to do business with us too, right? Like with me and Drew, and they feel more confident, like, hey, she's always asking for the updates, like what's going on, very responsive. She always answers her calls, because I always answer my calls, unless like, I'm in the shower or something. But anyways, I'm very easy to reach. I'm easy to communicate with. And so I know they saw that, and
she makes
between
the offers
two,
look pretty and organized.
Oh yeah.
No contingencies, guys. So in this market,
Oh yeah.
oh, we forgot to mention, we are so ballsy. We made a $20,000 non-refundable deposit, which means if we don't buy this house, we lose 20 grand.
Yeah. So
Insane. So if you can't do that, you can't get this house. That's the game we're playing right now.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
basically what it means is that even if we go in the house and we're like, oh my God, like how does it look? And we see like maybe one side's coming apart, there's no way to basically back out at that point. So I had to beg my...
We do have some tools in our belt now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had my home inspector, this is like at 10 o'clock at night, I'm like, yeah, we need a home inspection like right now, because we found out we got it accepted maybe like 7 o'clock or something, right? 7:30. It was like
the
Friday
next
night.
day.
And
then
I'm on a date and you call me.
He's
right
like on
away.
a date. This
I'm
guy.
like dipping out of the date. Imani's listening. Hey, listen, that was real. So we really did buy that house, right?
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm having dinner. I'm like, I don't care. Like, this is what I mean about, what makes people different. Like, if I need to talk to you, then I need, because if you were to lose your deposit because I didn't advise you, right? Like, hey, you have to do the home inspection tomorrow morning.
Yep.
You must. It is.
And your guy was able to make it happen.
Oh yeah, because that's the thing. I have
Again, team.
amazing people that I work with, and they're always. He wasn't gonna work. He said, "I'm gonna do one inspection machine, but I'm not, able to." And I said, "Look, please, please." And he said, "Okay, for you, Nasheen, I will." And that's the kind of relationship. Those are the kinds of relationships as a realtor you have to build with people. it's so important because they will go above and beyond, like at a time of need, which he really did, because I wouldn't sleep at night knowing that, hey, I'm gambling with your money,
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's not what we want to do. But you're probably like, Vince is probably not thinking about that, right? Like maybe because he's on a date, it's Friday, like he just found out, it's not on top of his mind. But for me it is. I'm like, no. And I'm like, hey, we're gonna get this done. I don't care if you have your date around you tomorrow morning or afternoon. We're going.
So walk us through. So we got the inspection done,
Mm-hmm.
walked it, and then what?
And the property's really nice.
Super
it's
nice.
like
2021.
new.
Nobody has lived in it ever.
Yeah,
It's
Looks
really nice,
good.
and there's no connection. It's like the main house, and then there's the second house, and it's like two houses on a lot.
Mhm.
It looks fantastic. I love the property. I mean, I had put it on my Instagram, and I got quite a few people like message me like, "Wow, this is really nice."
Yeah, I would live in it. Like it's really nice.
Yeah, absolutely, super nice property. And
So 3 deals in 3 months, huh? We haven't closed this one yet, but by the time this airs, it possibly will be.
Mhm.
yeah,
Closing,
I'm
yeah.
super
Yeah.
excited.
We have a couple of tools under our belt for that property to do, but
Yeah.
we'll wait for talk about that when we close it.
Don't jinx
Okay,
it.
so I want to now go into Nasheen's assets. So Nasheen, so you've been
Yeah.
doing real estate for a while, and this is very active income, and you guys make high income. So do you guys own any real estate?
We do. We have our primary residence in Costa Mesa. And then we actually purchased a vacation home, close to Palm Springs in the city of Desert Hot Springs. And we closed on that like 7 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, our primary home, we purchased it like few months into quarantine when people were so scared. Everybody thought their homes were going to drop 50%,
Yeah. Went up 40%.
Yeah. So here's where like coming from a real estate family really helped me, build wealth. So I had called, my mom's brother. He's like one of the top realtors out there in New York. And I told him, I said, hey, look, do you think I'm making a mistake buying this property? And he said, well, the thing is, you have to have a place to live, right? So you're going to pay for that, whether it's rent or you pay someone else's mortgage. So he said, look, it looks good. Just go ahead and buy it. And I'm like, but what if it drops? He's like, yeah, but so what? It drops 20%, but at least you live in it, right? And you have a place to live. And
And if you wait long
even
enough, it'll always go up.
and he said, it'll come right back up in a couple of years. And do you think you can live in it for a few years? I'm like, oh, for sure. It was completely remodeled, beautiful. Location wise, I couldn't ask for a better location, So I went ahead and I did it. And it was super scary. Like people thought my husband and I were bananas. Like they're like, you guys are buying a house right now. And then like the whole COVID thing happened. So my husband's an engineer with Raytheon. He has a really demanding career, and so he all of a sudden overnight we're both stuck in the house. And he's like, how come you're just on the phone all day? I'm like, this is what I do. It's funny that you don't realize that I'm on the phone since the morning to night, because he would always be out working, so we needed more space. And so here's the cool part. Since we purchased it, it's gone up like, I don't know, 35-40%. It's kind of crazy.
That's crazy.
And it's less, it's not even 2 years, not yet. So
Well, let's. What I'm more excited about is this one in Desert
yeah,
Hot Springs. Let's talk about that. I want to hear the good and the bad, just for fun.
Yeah, I want listeners to know, even though you're doing real estate for half a decade, a lot of the things on the transactional side, once you go to the investment side of things, you don't even know 1%. That's how crazy it is, even though you know almost everything on the transactional side, right?
Yeah.
So tell the listeners, like, you bought this Airbnb, hoping to make some money, and it's been 8 months. Have you made like millions of dollars, or have you made $1 yet?
Not yet, and I'm actually throwing almost $100K at it right now.
Yeah, so just
Out of
listen to that,
pocket.
guys. So she's a realtor. She knows everything about transactions.
Yeah.
Believe believe me, I know a lot about transactions. She knows
Yeah.
more than me, right?
Mhm.
And then she decides to buy an investment property, right?
Yes.
This is a person who's not a newbie. She knows everything about it. She
Yep.
buys an Airbnb. The seller decides to squat in it in California. Welcome to communist state,
5150.
right? And then pulls up 5150 is crazy. So then
that happened more
it
recently.
takes 7 months. She puts down, what did she put down? 60K?
For a vacation home, I actually put down right
About
around there.
$60,000. And then she's paying
And
the
closing.
mortgage for 8 months. She has made $0 and she's dumping another $100,000. So she's in it $160,000.
Yeah.
And every month she's
No,
got
more
to,
than that.
More than that.
The
More than
holding,
that.
holding period.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was going to say. So she's in it 7, 8 months, 9 months, possibly up to 10 months before she makes $1, and she'll be in it for almost $200,000, right?
Yeah,
So this is what I want.
cash. Like
Cash.
it's like know.
This is what I want listeners to understand. If you
Yeah.
decide to do this, like Andrew kept mentioning this earlier, like it is a new business. Even
Yeah.
though you're in the business, it's
Yep.
still a new business. Now,
Yep.
my question is, do you have $200,000 to throw at this problem and keep paying the mortgage till you fix it, right? Can you do it?
You have
Her
to have
husband
the
makes 300, she makes maybe 100. They're making like $400,000 a year. She could do it. Can you do it? I don't know. Maybe you can.
It's tough. It's
Right?
been
And
really
even if
tough.
you can, like, how long are you able to stay in that fight
Yeah.
if you're not knowledgeable
mean,
on what's happening?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm paying the pool guys.
There's so much to a real estate deal.
yeah.
There's so many moving parts when you're an investor.
like just in
you
the.
got the team, the pool guys. The guy left every item. He left 2 cars in the garage, like nice cars. I'm
Can
like,
you
what?
sell it?
I don't even know.
I had them taken out. I don't
have them
want
taken
them.
out?
I don't. I just
If you,
wanted.
did you legally evict him?
Yeah. Of
If
course.
you legally evict him, there's a certain amount of hours.
I
After that
know.
is yours.
I know. Yeah. I don't want
She just
anything.
she wanted to get it
I
all,
just
get rid
want
of it.
to get rid of everything and have a. I don't want to worry about cars in the garage.
And then when we bought it, what did I tell you?
he's like, hey.
I told you this guy will squat for 9 months. He will not pay, and then you're going to spend $100,000 to fix it, and it's worse than that. Right? I
Yeah.
told you,
Well-
right, when you bought it.
Yeah, and the past a few weeks, I mean, all I'm doing is like paying $8,000 here. Then this weekend, I'm paying for the rest of my
I
pool
know, it's
because it's
crazy.
been, the guy called me and he showed me that it's got the water. Just
Mhm.
need to check how the heating works, and I gotta pay him like $25,000 like this weekend.
Yep.
Like
That's
cash,
crazy.
like just cash out of my pocket. That's why I haven't been going out with any of the friends and
Yeah, that's
stuff.
crazy,
Like I'm
yeah.
like I can't. I just feel
That was
like
their
I
first
need to.
night out a couple nights ago at Mastro's to celebrate
Yeah,
the closing of
that was like
Olympic.
the only thing I
Yep.
did.
I haven't seen you
for-
out in a long time.
for months because
Yeah.
that Mastro's is like because we're closing on Vince's house, our
Right.
team,
Gotta
all that
celebrate.
fun stuff. But it's just like, hey, I needed to. The way I felt was like I needed to save up, whatever I was
If-
earning, and just put it right back into it because
I mean,
Yeah.
the good news is with the deal, guys, if she does have the funds, and she does, you will always win in the long term.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
just a pain
But
point,
you
like
have
really
to-
bad.
I have to
Yep.
work very hard all day long, 20,
Yeah.
like so many, like New Year's Eve, I was just home, working,
Let's give
every-
Todd Valentine a shout out, right? He's the one hooking it up.
Oh,
Without
so Todd
we will both be homeless.
Montgomery.
Yeah.
Yes, he is
Why is it
amazing. He's doing
Yeah.
he's
How
helping
about the team?
He's
Yeah.
helping with he actually flips homes for a living. He
Yeah.
has an amazing contracting business. And so he's just I couldn't do this without the help of our friends.
Shout out to
circle
Todd.
Of friends.
He was actually watching for a second. I don't know if he's still
Oh, really?
on. Yeah, but-
Montgomery, not Valentine. I don't know why I
Yeah,
said
Montgomery,
Valentine.
yeah.
Valentine's just coming
He's the
up.
man, dude. He
He's
assembled all the team
amazing.
members, got everyone
Mhm.
out there.
It's actually his guys I'm using for my foundation as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Gangster
Network
Todd.
is your net worth.
He's got. I
Yeah.
mean, when they lifted up the carpeting at my vacation house, there were some cracks in the foundation. No
Oh,
big
were
deal.
there
That's
really?
normal.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it's very normal because it's
Still seal it up
cracks.
though.
My favorite
So
part
he
about
sealed
that house.
it all up. And I mean, he had the guys seal it all up, so I have photos of all that. I'm literally flipping out a house and selling multiple homes at the same time,
Yeah.
doing all this stuff.
Every time we have a phone call, it's like we have like 10 things happening.
Yeah.
Same thing with Vince. We have 10.
Yeah.
It's like, hold
And
on.
it's
What
my
items? I'm literally taking notes every time either one of
Yeah,
us talk, just so
yeah.
you guys know.
And so it's my first time, flipping out a home, and it's
Yeah.
100 miles away. It's exactly 100
Yep.
miles away from my house, and it's
It's
challenging.
cool though.
I
I'm
mean-
so excited for you. Once you figure out that one room, which was a dedicated cat room,
That's
Let
a
me tell you,
dedicated
people.
cat.
Let me tell you something.
There was
right now.
like
This
Let me
guy's
tell
a
you something
psycho.
right now, because I walked the place. This is every article of this man's life is still in the house. Well, not now, but it was.
it was.
Pool was completely destroyed. He lit a fire on the side of the building. Cops being called. Neighbors are upset. And then I'm
It's
walking through
rough
the
out there,
rooms.
yeah.
It's rough, yeah. Really good bones. Like I'm super
Oh, the
excited
house
for you
is
though.
great.
Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
want to break it in.
Oh, you been there?
Airbnb stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
we toured the
It is.
property a
Oh my
couple
god.
of weeks ago.
I was like, I'm so jealous. This place is a shithole right now. But if you can keep up with it, put the money in it, you're gonna
I'm
make all
doing
that
it.
back and then
Yeah.
some. And I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell them the story. I'm going through these rooms and they're all carpeted. And I opened this.
Oh,
There's only one door that was closed, and I opened that one, and it's cat shit all
like
over the
smeared
floor.
onto the carpet.
And-
But when
yeah.
I was buying it, the house was in great.
Right.
Like it was perfect. Like
Yep.
that was I was never gonna change the carpeting.
Yep.
And just that, like ripping out
He
carpeting.
just stayed
and
there and out
new
of bitterness.
That's like
destroyed it.
$7,000-8,000 out of my pocket. Like I wasn't expecting that. You know.
You know, I was telling you when you were closing this, I came to your closing table when you did, and you
Yeah, when we were
and you
signing the
telling- I
grant
said,
deed, he like showed
dude,
up
don't
at my office.
don't close escrow till seller to deliver property vacant. It's like 101 real estate. You know, these guys are
There's
always
a
losers.
lot of stuff with the transaction stuff that I don't want to get into, but
Yeah, sure.
you know, it was sometimes you just can't
Yeah.
do certain things. Like I can't control certain things, right? So
Yeah, you can. You're paying $500,000 for it. You can just be like, yeah,
Yeah.
you can fuck off. Like,
Here's
get
my
out.
question.
Right.
This is good for the audience and for me.
Mhm.
If you could do it differently now, and it's getting on its own feet now, and it's going to
Mhm.
be profitable soon.
Mhm.
But if you could do it differently, what would you do different, if anything?
This was a very challenging situation, you know. It was
Mhm.
very challenging. So there's probably not much else that could have been done differently because you know I have experience with like really challenging tough. I mean I've closed deals where like back in the day meaning like all this pre-COVID stuff. Like I've not to go on a tangent, but just so you understand like you know. What I have experience with is say it was my listing, right? And then the buyers are contingent buyers, right? Because they're selling their house. And then on the other end, they're selling their house. And the other guy. So that's 4 deals in one. All it would take is one lender to come back and say, you know what, we need an updated mortgage updated bank statement. And now 4 deals.
And you've
I mean,
already
it's
opened
like,
up 7 credit lines, right?
like maybe somebody went
yeah.
shopping or something, you know.
Yeah.
That's all it would take to
That's
make this
true,
whole
that's
thing
true, you're
fall
right,
apart.
yeah.
But you know, and we call like these like you know, we call them like a Medusa, really, because it's like it's really really hard to, you know, and there's so much to
That's
deal
true.
with.
Yeah, you're right.
So I've done all of those, and like the things that come up, it's like, you know, I don't know. It's really tough. So even with all of that, and there are so many kinds of people too, you know, like people's.
So you're saying
the
you
way-
couldn't have done anything else?
in this situation, you know, the situation that the sellers were in and all of that, it was kind of the way to go. And I anticipated he would stay there for some time.
He was
but-
paying some money in the beginning, right?
Yes, but then my attorneys told me like I should not be taking money because then what grounds are you evicting on?
Yep.
And it's
Oh, yeah.
it's very unfortunate, you know, but it was just the situation of the
Just,
particular person. Typically you wouldn't see this,
Yeah, you
know.
wouldn't typically see this.
And I was willing to, you know, it sucks, but you know, I forecasted like, you know, I forecasted maybe $40,000-50,000 in, you know, repair
Repairs,
stuff,
yeah.
and I was prepared with that amount
and it
of
is
cash.
150.
It's like it's
Yep.
more well because
Let's
I
sell
wanna
your
get,
Gucci bags. You probably have extra
Never.
cash. Never.
Never.
Yeah.
Those are mine.
Let's talk about those Gucci bags because apparently those are assets.
Oh,
She's been educating me on all this stuff, these fancy. So
She's
Nasheen,
been
if you've seen
scamming.
Nasheen and you've seen her out
more
rolling
like
around.
my
She's
Chanel
looking
bags.
more
Yeah.
fabulous than anybody there.
She
You got
should
this-
be on Selling Sunset.
This big Gucci necklace or whatever it is. What is
Oh,
it?
that's a Chanel necklace.
Chanel necklace. I don't even know.
What
I'm
is
so
what is
stupid.
better? Is it Gucci or Chanel? Is the who's better? Who's
I like Chanel better.
Chanel? Is that more expensive?
a lot. Yeah.
Well, here's
yeah.
the craziest thing.
Depends.
These bags that she's buying, like these like crazy expensive bags, they're assets, dude.
Dude, these guys say this garbage. Like Ryan is telling me that his car is an asset. You know, like he can sell
What
it
car?
for more.
What car?
The Teslas and the Rolls Royce and stuff. But he probably can. But still, guys, it's not paying you. It's not really an asset.
It's more of a liability.
It's more of liability.
It's
Maybe
taking
you can
money out of
break
your pocket
even.
I don't know
month.
enough to comment on that, but there are some cars that are assets for sure.
But going back to the topic we were talking about, we had a similar situation when we bought Momsky's house in Fontana, right? So the sellers decided they wanted to stay. So I had it written in the contract. Every day they stay over day 7 or day 14, it'll cost them, I don't know, $175 per day, right?
Per diem,
Guess what? They were gone on the 14th day.
Yep.
But it like I said, it really differs from person to person and their situation. And I got, that kind of seller, unfortunately.
Yeah, sometimes
you got unlucky. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and I knew it was gonna be a process, and to me, the way I looked at it, right, is like, okay, if I can afford the repairs and the things, and then then I was looking at it as like, hey, this is going to be a good investment in terms of I can Airbnb, like do short-term rentals, and there are 4 on that street actually, and they're doing very well, like to the point where my neighbor, because I'm friends with the neighbors.
What they offer you on that?
Oh yeah, they're always trying to buy the house from me.
Like for over a couple hundred.
Oh,
grand,
they were going to pay me hundreds more, like cash and stuff.
That's kind of nice. So in the back of your head is like, well,
I
shit hits the
yeah.
fan.
Yeah.
I can at
Listen,
least
the
just let it
local-
go. And
Yeah, the local agent who lives on the other side of the street, like he called me just recently because he's seeing like all these people coming in and working and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He calls me sometimes, and he just wants to know if I want to sell it, just like the neighbors do. They
Nosy
always, yeah, because he wants to, and he told me like, hey, I can get you $250 more than what you paid for 7 months ago, and I'm like, that's absurd, but he is right. There's people willing to pay. It's a very big lot. It's got a swimming pool. It's got a jacuzzi. It's really nice. I mean, it has really great potential,
Dude,
and the more money
are so
I make,
amazing. I'm telling you.
I will put more money into it and make it real nice. And like, think about how great it is when your neighbor next door has the same business, right? Like, he's doing that with his house. And I mean, if you want me to go into a couple of numbers, like my neighbor next door told me that he purchased in April of 2021, just last year, less than a year ago. And then he said that by June, I mean, his one looked pretty, very good because he had the nice pool and the grass and all the things in the desert, right? He said from June to January, like a couple of weeks ago when I last spoke with him, he said, Gene, I've made really good money. And I'm like, how much? Like 20, 30K? He's like, no, like 80,000, 70 something thousand. I'm like, this guy's kidding me.
In 6 months? Gross?
7 months. I think it's gross, but like he had put more money into the house, so he didn't have as big of like a payment. And then he's got solar to heat up the pool and all the things,
That's great.
Yeah. And I was like, this is crazy, And so when I did the analytics, just again recently, he wasn't lying. That's exactly what the numbers showed. Like, I can see exactly how much the other ones have made so far too. Like, I have a system of doing this. So it's unbelievable. I mean, so think about it. If you're investing $500,000 and you can make even $50,000 profit a year, that's not so bad, right? Yeah. But it all comes down to like having the money and, and I always tell people like to make money, you got to spend money, and that's with, real estate marketing. That's with, investing in properties. You've got to find the funds, like, and if you really try, you could.
If they're all capital expenditure, like you say it is, you can depreciate it and wipe out your taxable income for the year.
Right. Yeah.
And not be counted against your income because you're depreciating.
Yeah.
You doing the accelerated depreciation?
No, even if she does just like regular cost segregation and stuff like that.
All the stuff that Vince knows everything about.
Walk her through this, while the audience is listening. Like, what do you think she should do?
Okay, so how this will work is, so now you're a real estate professional because you do have 750 hours you definitely put in, right?
Oh, yeah. You mean like in a month? Or in a
year,
week.
right?
No, I'm just kidding.
And then the only problem is you don't have rental real estate, right? So you need to have participate in 500 hours. So she doesn't have that yet. But when you do, then you can use all of these expenses that you have. And you can put them together, and then you can do like a cost segregation study on it.
Right.
And you can depreciate it. When you do depreciation, it's just an accounting term to get tax deductions, right?
Yeah.
If you do that, you can actually deduct it from your income from other places.
Mm-hmm.
But when they do look at your income, they will credit it back to you as though you made that as income because you're depreciating it instead of expensing it.
Right.
So that's the advantage of using
That's
depreciation.
genius. Yeah. I'm a little bit familiar with some of it, but I'll get more details now.
Investing is a whole
that
different
I'll
animal.
be, I'll be in that situation. Where
So going
I
through
have
this
to.
cycle, I want to go and ask what's the next steps for you. But before that, I want to ask you, you've been in the industry and you've got into the investing game. So would you say that what would you tell people who are trying to get into their first deal, or Jeff, who might be listening, or somebody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this something you would advise, or would you tell them to partner with someone who has been doing it and he can take a blunt of the force? Like, if let's say you partner with us, you probably won't be paying for that, all the repairs. We will probably be taking care of most of it.
Yeah.
However, now I might not have bought it because there's the seller is still in the property, right? But if he did, we will be taking care of more. So what would you say? Like long term, it definitely is beneficial for you to learn if you're going to do more. What would you do? What would you say?
Oh, like in terms of whether people should
Partner or do it by themselves?
I would say partnering is great. I mean, with the real estate market being how many homes are there in all of Orange County right now? There's less than 1,100
Available?
homes for sale.
Yeah.
And there's
That's
what,
about
4 million
11,000.
people in Orange County, and there's like 20,000 realtors in Southern California. So it's crazy. It is. So who you work with at this point, especially in the realtor representing you and things like that, it's very important. And so what I'm trying to say is that it is probably very challenging for someone to just go and purchase a home just all on their own with very little help or like a really great team and all that stuff. So partnering, like one thing that I've been seeing, because I'm very familiar with residential real estate, I'm seeing people like families, like 2 generations, like parents, and maybe they have a son, and they're both renting 2 different apartments or whatever, right? And they're coming together, and they're like, hey, look, we spend $5,500 on rent each, right? And it's going to keep going up. Maybe we could get a little house somewhere over here, and kind of live together. So I'm seeing that since last year. I'm seeing that quite a lot, that, okay, and then it works out, because they're combining all their W-2s and stuff, and it actually works out,
Yeah.
So that's a type of partnership that families are doing, Then another one is like friends are coming together to buy a home together to live in, because that's the only way, right, to get into something.
Friends are coming together to do that?
Yeah.
I've never heard of those.
No, yeah, it's actually a
weird.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
they
many
are.
homes do we have?
13?
No, say like friends, as in like say, like
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
and
Yeah,
they're
it's
gonna
smart,
live
yeah.
in it together, or maybe they're 2
Instead of
couples.
renting, they could buy it together, yeah.
Exactly. So at least it helps them get into something. I study the market. I get all the updates. I like to,
Here's something to pivot on, because I want you to answer this. For anyone listening who's considering buying a home, this is, by the way, like basically, February of 2022, where market's insane. People are concerned. Oh, there's going to be a bubble.
Yeah.
Can you just comment on that? Just real quick.
Oh, absolutely. Like I know that everyone wants, the market, like everyone's just waiting for so many years, like for
Since COVID started, everyone's like, it's
yeah.
going to end. There's a fire coming.
Yeah,
and
like
it keeps,
the
it keeps
whole
climbing.
Yeah, the whole market crashing. Now, so I get this question asked like all the time, like, hey, so when is it going to come down? Now, in terms of, so many people, in terms of so many people being on the market, that was fueled by extremely low interest rates, right? I mean, the feds are just literally handing out money. It's like free money right now. Well, up until, it's changing.
Right.
So it's created like this huge demand, and so, like cost of properties, are not going to come down unless there's, a smaller demand, right? Like if people are still willing to buy, I mean, look at how many offers and stuff. Look at only what's on the market, right? It's very tough. So that demand is going to still be there, even with the interest rate, which is climbing right now. It's like at 4 right now.
And why will the demand still be there?
Because people need housing, and also there's a 5.5 million home shortage in the United States.
That's the reason why it's just going to keep. Being
and
a
California is like the worst.
Right now, it's like a quarter of what it was a few years ago.
Yeah,
in terms of available homes in Orange County.
So what had happened was the last recession, the Great Recession after 2008, right? And I really I use this piece of knowledge, information all the time, and I really make people understand and see what happened. So that was really bad, right? Like, I mean, they were overbuilding at the time, and I was like, 21 when this whole thing blew up, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so I was an adult, and I got to really understand what happened, right? So there was a lot of overbuilding, and
plus it was just straight up predatory lending.
That's really
yes, what it was.
Yes, absolutely. And then so when that whole crash happened, builders went out of business. They stopped building. 80% of builders just stopped building. So we haven't had builders build homes, right? Because you have to. There's always going to be more people in the world being born. I'm focusing more on the United States, right? All across, on a national level. So these builders just went out of business. Those construction workers, the people who built the homes, they went and they stopped building homes, went into other businesses. And so there's just been a shortage, and it's really, really, really bad. So even if they started building 10 times as fast right now, and with the cost of building extremely high, I mean, like I said, I'm rehabbing a home. It's costing me so much money. It's through the roof, you know? And then labor is very expensive too, but the cost of materials and getting flooring is impossible. Even paint,
everything's
really why?
Triple, it's come down a little bit since COVID, but it's still overpriced.
Yeah. So what's happening is that because it's so expensive to build, builders just can't afford to build affordable housing. And what I mean by affordable housing is not cheap housing.
Low
it's
income.
just a regular small house, or apartment complex. No, it only makes sense for them to build at this point and call it luxury and sell it for at least $1 million, $1.5 million. I mean, it's crazy what they're building. They're 4 stories, the narrowest houses I've ever seen.
Costa Mesa, right?
Yeah, in Costa Mesa where I live.
Up
the street from my house. These are going for 1.67.
Crazy.
I mean,
when will that be done? Because we just got a client who's looking for a brand new place.
Oh yeah, but then you have the super high taxes that come with the new builds.
We'll have a conversation.
Yeah. So I don't see demand going down. I don't. I mean, you have the baby boomers, right? They're all a lot of them are trying to downsize, right? So here's what's really happening. And then you have 50 million millennials, all looking to buy a house at the same time, right? People our age, right?
Yeah, that's us.
It took us, we're all in the mid 30s, and so it took, because we were straight out of college or finishing up when this whole the Great Recession happened. So we're a little bit, it took us a long time to get back on our feet, or get on our feet really, and then become eligible to buy homes. So that's where all of these people our age are, the people who, so you have baby boomers trying to downsize, and then you have people trying to buy their first home, so it's creating enormous pressure, on the market.
Supply.
There's
lots
just
of demand.
Yes, and there's so much demand. Just last year, all the stats are out. There were 6.2 million real estate transactions, properties that were sold. So everyone will tell you, hey, there's nothing on the market. There's no inventory. But that was the highest in history, right?
When was that?
Last year.
Last year.
That was the highest number of sales. Yeah. Because the numbers are out now, right? So, because we're into Feb.
So how does that work, though? Why was it the highest?
because of demand,
Yeah.
with COVID,
Those low
everybody
interest rates probably.
and the low interest rates. Oh, absolutely.
What was it down to, like 2.65 or something?
Oh
ridiculous
man, it
like
was
that?
bananas.
Yeah, I mean we have
have-
Momski's locked in at 275 for.
Yeah,
That's why I don't want to.
We can never refinance
that.
ever.
Yeah.
There's just no way. Yeah.
refinance it to like 5. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
Yeah.
So because they're giving away free money, and people need more space. I mean,
So would you recommend, if a listener's considering buying, would you recommend them buy or wait for the bubble to pop like people are talking about?
so here's what I would say. And so as a buyer, like a primary buyer, like someone trying to get into their first property, because rents are going up through the roof. They're up like 40% in some areas because there's no rent control. Well, I know a lot of people feel like, no, I want to have a really nice house, and I understand that. Like, I don't live in my dream home, I know that these are like stepping stones, right? Like, I was qualified for a lot more, but I thought, no, I want to be an investor, so I need that amount that to buy more homes, right? So I went and I bought something that was like what 40% of what I was qualified for, which is crazy. Nobody does that. Like, I remember when I was buying it, the seller was like, well, then why do you want this property?
Is
like,
that the investment property in Palm Desert?
no, my
That's your
primary
primary?
home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because they're like, well, why do you want it? So, but it's hard for most people to grasp that, like, and understand. Like, a lot of people, they're like, hey, I'm qualified for $1 million or 800,000 or 600, whatever. And they say someone's qualified for 800, right? They want to go look at homes that are 800,000. But no, you need to, in this market, probably look at homes that are like 630, 40,000, because you're going to have to bid up really high to get it, and then be able to cover that appraisal gap, so because you don't want it to mess with your debt to income ratio, right? So there's a lot to consider. So anybody just thinking about getting into a property, like, I would say, if you have the means and you can scrap together the money, like, seriously, like, that's how I bought my second home in such a short time. I mean, I put together every dime that I had, and I was like, no, I'm gonna do it, and so I would say get in right now if you can.
Don't wait.
If you have the means, like, even if you need to go partner up, and live with friends or something or whatever, just make it happen, because the feds are doing 4 rate hikes this year in the next 10 months by the end of the year. Then you have
So here's what I would say. I would say it's twofold. If you're looking to invest, definitely do it now, because
100%.
inflation is, what is it, 7%?
It came out at 7.5.
7.5% right
And
now.
that's the fake one. They're trying to scam.
Oh,
us with.
yeah.
The real
What
one
is-
is like 20%.
Right.
I
So
would
what
say
that means
even
is
more.
all that cash you're sitting on. I'm sitting on a lot of cash myself because I'm,
We're gonna spend it. Don't worry.
right. We're gonna
We're
get
gonna
yeah.
spend it.
But
gonna
I'm
go
sitting
into
on
highway.
I'm sitting on some cash, right? And so I know that that's just getting eaten away. So I would say if you've ever considered investing, even a little bit, or at least you want to protect yourself from this insane inflation, I would say definitely partner with someone like me and Vince and let us take care of you and make sure you're riding and you're on the winning side of this inflation, or whoever, Grant Cardone, or do your own thing if you want, but prepare to take $200,000 out of pocket if you have to. So do your own thing. It's fine. So I would say that. I would say act now, right now, because rates are going up. Inflation is going up. It's like now or never, or else you're gonna get buried.
Yeah.
And then if you're just like, no, I just want to buy my own home, little white picket fence, the wifey wants something, then I would say now or never before the rates go crazy back up. And plus, now you're sitting on at least an asset that, you live in it, so it's not an investment, but now you're riding inflation as well.
Absolutely.
So what I'm like yelling at all my friends. I'm like, a friend of mine called me. He's like, hey, can you help me? Like, I did an open house the other day, and I was like, yeah, we could do that. And he was like, yeah, I want to rent. I'm like, oh, what? Hold on. I didn't even know you could do open houses for rentals. I didn't know that was a thing. And so I'm like, oh, well, why don't you can you buy something? And I'll go straight for the jugular. What are you sitting on? What's your income? Are you going to get what can we? I want to get you into something. I don't give a shit. I'm going to make a couple grand on a commission that I'll spend. Half of it will go to taxes. The other half will be on a dinner at Mastro's. It's not a big deal to me. But I'm actually super passionate about protecting my friends and helping them to come up. So when Vince and I and you and we're all living on a mountain I want to be in Laguna Beach. It's not alone. I want people to come with, and
we're
people
all
don't
gonna be neighbors
understand
in Laguna
that.
Beach.
Yeah, I love Laguna.
That's the goal.
Yeah. Anyways, that is what I wanted to kind of comment on and kind of pull out of you, and you were pretty much kind of touching on it. I want to kind of be a concise act now, or you're going to pay a premium in a year or two. Yeah. Because you just thought, oh well, maybe it's like 2008 when there's a fever, it's bound to break. In this case, unless all of a sudden, there's an insane amount of builders.
Like Armageddon or something.
Unless there's an insane amount of builders or whatever, what I'm saying, it's going to keep going up.
Yeah.
And the rates are going up, inflation's going up.
So because of inflation, that's why we're seeing property prices. It's expected to rise up to 15% in the next 10 months.
Inflation pushes home values, people.
So if somebody's, and I have this conversation with a lot of clients, say they already own a home and they wanted to upsize, now they're priced out. They're done.
Nashin's favorite word is priced out. I love that.
Well, I used to, honestly, I used to tell them, you've been kicked off. I have had people that I talked to, maybe just a year ago, 13 months ago, right?
And that's why with this investment property, because I've got a little bit of my own skin on it. Yeah. That's why I want to get it done, wrap it up, and then get it rented out, and then go get my own thing. I'm still looking.
I'm gonna put you on another house, bro.
That's actually a better idea.
It's a never ending.
I know, right? Yeah. It's like 9 houses later. I'm like, I should probably get something, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have so much in assets,
So
and plus my income's gonna go up like crazy this year.
Yeah,
so I'm not too worried about DTI.
Yeah, that's why I don't think I think your level is higher than the garbage house you were looking at, for 400K.
Sure.
I'm like, no.
But the reason why I was doing that was because I just wanted to get in. I'm taking my own advice. I want to get something that's going to ride this coming inflation. I want to get into something so I can, live in a couple years, rent it out later, get into something nicer.
Bro, you're in 30 houses, bro.
Yeah. 30 houses. Look at these guys.
30
balling
units.
out of control.
3, it's 30.
I've only got 2. So, so the conversation I have with all these investors, buyers, if you're looking for a second property, you are an investor, right? And I tell them this because they sit, they feel very secure having 100K or 200,000 or whatever, they've got in there. Then they got their 401Ks and, all the things, IRAs, all that stuff.
That's great. And you should have some cash. The oh shit fund should be there. Yeah. I'm not saying don't have cash, but I'm saying you want to have a little oh shit fund, but everything else you need to be putting into the market.
Yeah, but see, people don't know this. And so, as a realtor, our job is to really educate people and make them understand. And this is what I do very often is I tell them, I'm like, hey, look, they say inflation was 6%, right? And I give
7.5.
I know that's recent, right? Yeah. This is so then I tell them, I'm like, yeah, so you go to the grocery store. They're like, well, yeah. I'm like, okay, so say you paid $2 for your pound of tomatoes. How much is it now? Do you notice? So say you spend $200 on groceries. How much less are you getting? They're like, oh yeah, at Sprouts or Whole Foods or whatever these people go to. It's oh, I get half. I'm like, right. So what does that tell you? Your dollar that was getting you this much before is only giving you 50%. So that's kind of one way that I really help people see it because they're not seeing it. And so I tell them, look, see that $100,000 that you have, for example, that you're thinking about spending on investing in something. That's gonna soon get you only maybe $60,000 to $50,000 worth of goods and services or real estate, because it's just going. Inflation is through the roof. They have printed so much money. People
Vince,
are taking
tell the people how much money did they print the past couple of years?
Yeah, let me break down inflation for all you losers who don't know what's happening.
Loser
right?
is his favorite word.
Here's the real thing, right? I mean, Drew and I own millions of dollars of real estate. It's over $5 million now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And inflation will only help us. And I don't even like inflation.
Yep.
Because I don't want poor people to get more poor, right?
Yeah,
I'm not here to raise the rents on poor people and be screw you guys, I'm gonna now take everything from you. I don't like that, but that's what it is. I can't
Yeah,
help it,
that
right?
is
So
the
I
game.
just play the game. Like I just have to, otherwise I will also be poor, right?
Yeah.
So how inflation works is it actually taxes the poor people who don't have assets a lot. So what we did during COVID was money printing is tied to a GDP of a country. That's how it works. Before that, it used to be tied to gold. So there's always something to go off. You can't just print money because then you'll be freaking Venezuela and you're morons, right?
Yeah.
So, but we did print a lot of money, and
Yep.
we didn't make a lot of goods. We didn't. We stopped. We sent everybody home, and we still printed money. So where is that money going, right? All the money they said we're going to give poor people, right? They funded all the money to poor people. What did they do? They bought cars and they paid rent, right?
Yep.
And
And
who owns
Amazon.
who owns the car dealerships in all the houses, right? We do.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't matter how much money you print and you give
Yep.
poor people, they will actually become poorer because I will raise the rents more because everything went up. So there is no way getting around it. If you want to just give everybody universal basic income, that's great. I support it too. But the people who take it will become more poorer. For example, let's say my roommate, right? He didn't have a job and he really needed the money to stay
Yeah.
afloat, right? Okay, and then what happened to us? We got jacked in the face because people said, we won't pay rent. We'll just go buy new cars. We
Yeah.
got hammered, right?
Yep.
We took all the hits.
Mhm.
COVID's over now. What happened to my roommate? He's still renting, right? And he has no money. What
Yep.
happened to all our people who like just scammed us literally because they could, right?
They're out.
One guy is getting evicted. The sheriff showing up at the shotgun
Wednesday.
on Wednesday, right? He's out, right? What
Sheriff
happened to?
lockouts.
We're partying
Oh,
on
yeah.
Wednesday, just so you all
But
know.
what happened? No, but listen to the bigger point, right? What happened to us? We
Mhm.
own $5 million of real estate,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm ready to take that risk. I can eat it for a while, and then
Yeah.
I'll benefit from it the most,
Sure.
right? So I'm saying you cannot print your way out of this
Yeah.
problem. It's going to bite you back. So that's why when the Fed say they're going to increase the rates, I know they say, why they say that? They're saying that because they're trying to make people borrow more right now. Or
Yep.
will they raise the rates? They have to because inflation is really bad, right? But
Yep.
they can't do it for a long time because it'll
Right.
shut down the economy. So they will
Yep.
have to come down with the rates again. And then
Yep.
they'll print more money to help these poor people who will become even more poor. It's going to
So-
be a problem.
So to tie that up, if you don't own assets, you've
Yep.
already lost the game.
You
If
already
you're not
lost
even
it.
Absolutely.
thinking about it, you for sure lost the game.
Think
It's
about the
it's
people
over.
who wanted to wait COVID out. What happened to them? Nasheen, you want to
Oh,
use your favorite
Priced
word?
out.
Priced out of the game.
Priced
they can't
out.
live in Orange County anymore.
I used to tell them like, hey, you've been kicked off the market, and
Yeah.
they're like, what? I'm like,
You're
yeah,
done,
I'm
bro.
sorry.
Yeah.
And now more than ever, with what they can afford, we're going out there. We were out in Moreno Valley, like.
Hey, I
that-
like Moreno Valley.
No, I know it's
Yeah.
nice there.
The
I
second
mean,
house
but
was
it's
actually
not-
pretty nice.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but my
Mhm.
point is
It's not
that
Newport Beach.
that's that's where I'm taking people. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, are you okay with going to the IE because that's
Yep.
all
Getting pushed
or
out to
do
the
they
desert
want to
more
buy
and
a
more.
house with?
Even with Jeff, I told him, like, with what we're trying to work with your numbers,
Mhm.
I just told him straight up, like, you need to go another hour out in the desert to make it work.
Mhm.
It just is what it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
the
Everyone's
whole-
getting priced out more and more.
Oh,
Priced out.
absolutely. Like
the name of this episode, Priced Out.
Priced out. It could happen
With
to
Nasheen
you.
Noor.
you're so funny.
It's true.
It's really true. And the people who I have talked to just a year, like, or 13, 14, 15 months ago, and they were so scared. They're like, oh, it's all going to come crashing down. Just you wait. I'm like, look, I can't tell you the future, but this is what I told everybody. I was like, but this whole pandemic, this is not real estate driven. So please understand that. And if anything, everybody's stuck in their house. Like, people are doing Zoom calls and there's 3 kids like screaming in the back and
Yeah.
dogs
And-
barking. I mean, people need more space.
And remember, guys, the most important thing is, I know you guys haven't lived in different countries. I have. Only U.S. has a 30-year fixed mortgage. Do you know that?
I didn't know that.
That's
no.
not a product every country offers. I think in India, I think they do is 10 or 15 the best, right? So
Mhm.
here, the U.S. wants you to invest in debt because the dollar is based on debt. The dollar is promissory note says it's a debt.
Hmm.
That is,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so everything in the U.S. works around debt. And if you follow a moron called Dave Ramsey and then you're like, I don't want any debt. You know what Dave Ramsey's advice is? He says, save your money to buy your house with cash.
Yes.
If I
Oh,
meet him
that
in life,
makes
I would
no
punch him so
sense.
hard in the face and he should be like dead. Like he should be not even allowed on television because he's making people morons. Like literally, he's giving people such false advice that they are
Yeah.
for sure poor.
You're right.
It is good for people who have a lot of credit card debt. right? If they don't know the basics of finance,
Sure.
Dave Ramsey is good.
He's great with the
to get to zero.
complete. Yes. Yep.
He can only get to zero with Dave Ramsey. With
Right.
no debt, you're pretty much done.
Yep.
You know how Dave Ramsey has the studio? It's on debt.
Right, of
Yeah.
course. And
Yeah.
he's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a moron.
Well, it's been about an hour and a half or so.
Mhm.
Do we want to try to like kind of any final questions for Nasheen or anything that you wanted to kind of finish with?
yeah. So if somebody's trying to get into, let's say, their own business in terms of real estate, what would you advise? And then also with investing, because you've done both now.
Oh yeah. You mean if someone's interested in
Becoming a realtor, let's say. Because I know that 90% of the deals are done by 10% of the realtors or something crazy.
yeah,
And
like
now that
I
I'm
think
in
like
it, I see why.
Mm-hmm.
Because I heard that stat and I was like, what? And then now I see why.
well, we
Yeah.
have like 170, 80 agents on
And
our
it's
roster.
just you and Tom closing all the deals, right?
Yes.
And a few of us, yeah. And he's more commercial, right? So the
Yeah.
residential deals, like us and a few other agents, yeah. Like I have my own office there. We're always doing deals, but that's it. Like
How? Why are you guys the only ones?
because it's all we do, 7 days a week. It's all I do. I don't even have. Somebody asked me today, like hey, what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, I'm working. And see, I'm okay with that because I love it, right?
And
like
Yeah.
I don't
think
feel.
a big part of it is there's a huge learning curve. First of all, I'm
That's
experiencing
true.
this. So this is me coming from like I would have nothing.
It's
happen.
easy to get the license.
It's easy. It's a lot. It's
but
not even that easy. It
it's
took
not
me.
that easy,
It's
but
not that easy.
anybody can
Study.
get it.
And the test was 150 questions, and I
Yeah.
straight up thought I was like, I might have just failed this thing. Right
Yeah,
now.
my advice
You know?
would be that
My
hey,
sister took 2 attempts. You got
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
oh, I passed it, and I studied so hard for it, boys. Like,
for sure. If we
It
weren't
is-
already investing, I would have failed the first time because
Right.
I was already like familiar with the lingo and all that.
yeah,
They would
yeah.
have questions on there where like you really had to think about like all these little things. It wasn't just like A plus
I'm
B.
such a nerd. I studied so hard for it
Yeah.
that it sounds so bizarre, but I took it probably like in 20 minutes. And I wish
Yeah,
I
you
knew
said
my
that
score. There
once.
was one question that I felt like, but I was 50% sure on it. But
Yeah,
I
it's
was
nuts.
out of there and I was like, is something wrong? That's how hard I had studied for this thing.
That's
like
great.
I studied nonstop. I just went to the Newport Beach Library
Yeah,
every single day. Did that for like, 2-3 months.
right.
I deleted like all the social media apps because it's
Smart.
gonna like just
So you have to study all this. It's 45 hours minimum per course. It's 3
this
courses.
is after all my classes,
right,
you
and
know?
then there's the test, which is
The three- yeah,
It's not easy, guys. It's not maybe the bar, but it's not easy, especially in California.
Yeah.
And then you get into this office and you sign up with a brokerage, and you're like, "Cool, here I am, I'm working."
Yep,
and then you're like,
people, yeah. So
so
It's your own business. You
So
gotta go
what do I do?
knock.
yeah,
and
so,
you know nothing.
yeah, and so
I'm talking to myself, by the way.
yeah. And so what people think is that you join a brokerage, like you go into like a real estate office, like we
Yeah.
have Keller Williams Legacy office here, and that they just tell you what houses to go and show, right? But I know it doesn't work that way. But like everybody else is like, hey, so like, is there some houses that you want me to show, or what do I do? I'm here, and I'm like, oh, okay.
And they do help. I want to give a shout out to Keller Williams and the whole office at
Yeah.
Legacy. They do help.
And
They're
I've been doing a lot of training too for the new agents because
Yeah.
I know how that feels, right?
You've
So-
done a couple classes that really helped
Yeah.
me a lot. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's how you navigate the MLS.
Yeah.
Remember the first time I opened up the MLS, I'm like, what?
It's daunting.
This
yeah.
looks nothing like Zillow. you know?
Zillow's got the pictures.
Right?
It's fun. You
It's
click a
all
button.
like
yeah.
easy. Yeah, no, it's a
Uh-huh.
whole
So
different game.
It's a whole process. So what I would say is anybody who's really looking to get into real estate, I would say that you have to be committed 100%. Like
Yeah.
you cannot really have like a day job and be a weekend realtor because it's not going to happen. You're going to have to handle stuff
be
in
a
the middle of the
self-starter.
day. Well, yeah, I mean, when you have transactions going, but just to get that, I mean, you're going to have to really, really, really work hard because at first, and then I also spend a lot of money on marketing every month,
Yeah.
so technically I don't really make that much money when I think about it, but my perception is to make money, you have to spend money, right? So you have to have that. And, I would say like, you definitely have to have like probably a good $100,000 saved up in cash so that you can fund your lifestyle. Because in real
Pay the
estate you have to
bills.
look nice and pretty,
Yeah.
and you spend money on these things.
It
Like
was either
no one's-
modeling or real estate for me, so I think I made it better.
Yeah, because you need a nice car,
You can
right?
do both the real estate.
And
you know?
Mhm.
Just the
Yeah.
left one.
So you'll want like a nice car because you want people to think and perceive you as like put together.
Sure.
Like you're not gonna go
That and you're
w-
paying for advertising sometimes.
lots of it.
For
Yeah, that's where it get-
staging, for marketing. You've got a nice
Well,
marketing
mainly,
system.
yeah.
There's so many things that happen
So,
when
and
you own a business.
You
And when you own a
Yeah.
business, all these things keep creeping up. All these expenses. This has happened my whole life.
unbelievable.
Real estate as a realtor, it's no different. And then, of
Yeah.
course, as an investor, it's like
You're spending money.
there's
Yeah,
so
because
much money to be spent on a house.
yeah, you're
You just
Sound
said
like the thread from today,
$200,000.
this one thread.
What's that?
The one thread that we were talking about, like with Jesse and stuff. That's
Oh
my
my
life for
god!
4 years. That's one house. We have 30.
I was reading.
Right.
Oh wow.
He's
I'm
gonna
just
quit like on me. He's like out.
Yeah.
He's like
Wow.
sell everything.
It's
Buy one apartment complex and hire a property manager. I'm out.
That's the dream. That's the
Yeah.
way to go.
Oh,
For
wow.
real though. Its
So-
own ecosystem.
so let's wrap
Right,
up,
yeah,
right?
let's wrap
With
it up.
summary, you're saying you got to hustle hard. You got to
Hustle
have the
hard.
drive.
Yeah.
But
And then the learning curve
yeah.
is really big.
Learning curve is
Yeah.
steep.
but
So
you
team up with somebody. I was talking
Yeah.
to Crystal, who got us the Fontana deal. She was the real estate agent on it. Shout out to Crystal if you're listening. And I was telling her my journey, and she's asking me how everything's going. This is just a couple days ago, and I was talking to her. She's like, "You are doing it right. Like, if I could do it all again, I would have teamed up with somebody because I did it all the hard way. Took me forever. I made all these mistakes." And I could have just went like that. I'm like, okay, that's what I want to do. At this age, I'm 35, and I've got a
we're all the
successful
same age,
business.
which is so cool.
Yeah. Well, I've read enough and I study enough and I watch coaches on YouTube and I've had some coaching. I've learned that it's all about finding the team. It's all about finding people who have skills that you don't
Yep.
and learning how to kind of work as a well-oiled machine.
Yep.
It's the way to go. I'd rather have, we're doing deals together that we split. I think I would rather have, half of something rather than all of nothing.
So-
And it's the same way with our investors.
And
Sorry, what was you gonna
sorry
say?
to cut you off,
Yeah.
but what happens there is like, say you go into a deal and then you don't know what you're doing. So what happens is people trust you less, and you start off
Yep.
with like a really bad rep, and then
Yeah.
you've been wiped off the map.
Totally.
Like that never so far it hasn't happened to me because I had a partner
And you
for
did
a
the
long
same
time.
thing. You partnered with somebody.
Absolutely, yeah. And it was a very steep learning curve, and I was, lucky to work with someone who was
So-
very well experienced. So he always made sure there was nothing that could go wrong. I
Right.
mean, of course things could go wrong, but how to navigate the whole, like, he would just send me out to literally go and negotiate deals and do all the things, and I handled everything. So that's how I learned. But I needed someone to make sure that I'm not screwing something up, because one screw up, that's it. Like, I couldn't be where I am today in my career, right? Because and we're splitting all the deals, but it's like, okay, I'm doing it that way because it was either that or I wasn't ever going to close a deal, I wasn't ever going to do anything,
So-
just sit in the office or whatever
So
and
to
look at my laptop.
summarize, then I would say what Nasheen was saying is, be hungry, be willing to put in a lot of work,
Yeah.
and partner or partner with somebody.
Yeah.
And
And-
Either
you
in
know,
either an active business or in real estate.
Yeah.
Always better.
And the other thing I really, really want people to understand is that you're gonna need the funds, because you're not
Yeah.
going to get paid
Sure.
for many months,
Yep.
for many, many months, because
So marry someone who works for Raytheon.
you're funny.
Can't hurt.
Or you live with family,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
let's
live with
do
your
it. Yep,
family,
whatever it
or you save some money. But I think in terms of because you're gonna drive, there's so much stuff that you're gonna spend money on. You're gonna go get a whole
Yeah.
new wardrobe because,
I'm looking at the Mustang, and I'm like, I'm definitely buying something eventually after I get a house and all
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
so it doesn't rack my
for
DTI.
sure,
But,
yeah.
You can put it
I'm
on
like,
mom.
you know what? I'm gonna get the EcoBoost. I think I've settled on that. I'm all about 8 cylinders. I want to hear it. Now I'm like, no, I think I'm just gonna do the one that's like got this EcoBoost,
Uh-huh.
sucking up less
That's
gas.
the best you can do, EcoBoost, not the electric Mustang.
I don't like the look of it, man.
Oh,
I don't
really?
know why. Yeah, I can't.
See, these are boys.
Yeah, sorry. I don't want to throw off into cars, but I'm looking right now.
Myself.
Point
Hey.
is, it's because I'm driving so much. I'm out in the desert
Yeah.
showing people home.
So you want to be in something you like, you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'm the same way. That's why I
So-
like having.
Also
you know.
save money, guys. You can get write-offs too.
Yeah, I was tempted. Like not this. The past holiday, 2020. I was like, gosh, I'm gonna just go and like get a big old Range Rover just for fun, you know. And I'm glad I didn't because that would have my payment would have been like what. $1,600, you know, and I didn't pull the trigger, and thank God I did not. Like, I'm so glad I didn't. And instead, it helped me, not screw up my DTI for the second property, which I bought very quickly after the first,
Nice.
And so, and I have no regrets. Like, I don't care. And oh my God, like the gas on that car, I would have been broke.
Yeah.
Like just
like a
selling
big-
houses to pay for gas to go drive so many miles.
Vicious
right?
cycle. Only the oil industry wins.
So, yeah, exactly.
So let's just go ahead and wrap up.
Yeah, and I'll say.
Is there anything else that you got? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so and I'll also say that with all of us like working on all these investment deals, it's just. I mean, if you have any cash savings or anything in your 401k that you could possibly take out or somehow put some money together and work with us, and get into the game because look, people are afraid, they've never done this, but we're here to hold your hand through the whole process.
And how can they get a hold of us or a hold of you?
Well, they can reach me. My name is Nasheen Noor.
So NasheenNoor.com?
No, my phone number or
What's
something,
your phone number?
949-423-9483.
And Nasheen Noor at Gmail.
Yes, my first and last name. It was actually
How do you
available.
spell it? Not everybody's Indian.
Oh, N as in Nancy, Asheen, N as in Nancy, and my last name is Noor, and as in Nancy, Oor as in Robert. Yep, and I'm with
Get
the
a hold of
Keller.
us.
Well, we're with the Keller Williams Legacy office, and so reach out to any of us, and basically, we'll make something happen where. You get ownership, you put your money somewhere instead of it literally turning into paper in the bank. Like, guys, just take action. It's never too late.
Disappearing paper.
It's never too late.
Yeah.
And I would really say take action at this point because
And then real quick, that stat of how people become millionaires. The majority of people become millionaires. What's that stat?
Oh, I think it's 80% or 90%.
90% of all millionaires.
All millionaires, yeah.
are made through real estate.
Are we
And-
millionaires
Oh,
yet?
absolutely. I knew this.
And the majority of them just, at least getting a primary res.
Yep.
With debt against Dave Ramsey's
Yeah.
advice.
There's
Getting
only
a-
Screw
very
Dave
few-
Ramsey. That's the name of this episode.
Get into a house. That's
Yeah.
let's summarize
Get
that.
into
Before you're
anything,
priced out,
anywhere.
Don't be a loser.
Mhm.
So I'm getting your guys' see what I'm doing here. I gotta have a word too now.
You need a little phrase.
All right, you guys. Well, this has been RE Social Podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Nasheen
And-
Noor is amazing and a huge part of our team and what I call the dream team. So if you are looking to buy or sell anything or even invest, we're doing all of those things between us
Yes.
and a previous guest, Ryan, who's amazing at just getting things pushed
And
through
we're
and
getting
to
deals done,
we're in
in
escrow,
this market.
we're closing, we're in another
Mhm.
deal, we got another, things are
We're
going really
doing
well.
it.
And it's because we hustle, we kick ass, we're knowledgeable, and we don't
Yep.
sleep.
And with any questions.
I tell
so-
people literally, call me on a Saturday night. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'll step out. If it's midnight, it's fine. Just call me.
Oh, they do, and they will. Trust
Anyways,
me.
all right, guys. Signing off.
So-
Thanks for listening.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nasheen, for being
And
here.
Andrew's just a rock star. He's killing it. Like we're just,
Yep, doing the
we're
thing.
just
I know.
coming
I
together
have
and
no idea
doing-
what I'm doing, but I'm doing it well.
I'm going to
He's
cut about
doing
45 minutes of this episode. Just FYI.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you guys
See you
so
guys.
much.